Hi, I'm Magda from Interiors Exteriors. In this episode, I'll show you my ways to create a cozy living room. And these won't be ready-made recipes or shopping lists, but solutions that work for me. And maybe they'll work for you too. Before we move on to the individual points, I'd like to remind you that not every living room has to be cozy, and each of us might understand coziness a little differently. So if your living room is cozy, even though it's completely different from what I'm showing, definitely don't worry about it, but you can share your perspective in the comments. Traces of life. This might be a very controversial point, because the topic of tidiness at home is also controversial. We understand this very differently. Most of us agree that if the furniture is covered with a thick layer of dust, that's probably too much, but when it comes to whether a cup after drinking tea can stay on the table for a while, opinions may differ. Some people don't mind it at all, while others will think that such a cup can only be there when the person who is using it is sitting next to it and drinking tea. A notebook is lying on the table, but maybe after using it, it should be put away in the drawer where it belongs. Opinions can be very different. I think it's great when some things are still left out in the open. Then you can see that life is happening inside the apartment, and it has an incredibly cozy charm. However, of course, not every item gives that effect. And just as a notebook, a mug, or handmade crafts can look nice in an apartment, for example, chargers, cables, documents, those loose white A4 sheets scattered around in a mess. Well, that doesn't really give that cozy effect. It rather creates a work or office vibe, which isn't very relaxing. Textiles. Materials play an incredibly important role in interiors, both decorative and practical. Well, curtains are not just a pretty window decoration, but also a chance to shield yourself from your neighbor's eyes, or protect yourself from the cold coming from the windows, because not everyone has super tight windows in their apartment. And it's also a way to change the acoustics of a room, because when we have a lot of flat surfaces that reflect sound, there can be an echo in the room. And even if it's not the kind of echo that we can clearly hear and that bothers us in our daily life, it can still affect how we perceive a room and how we feel in it. Decorative pillows can help us sit comfortably on the couch, especially if it's a wider one and we want to sit up straighter, but they have many more uses. For example, when I sit on the sofa and the kittens come over, I often put a pillow on my lap, so that when the cats need me, they don't ruin my pants. It might seem like a silly thing, but for me it's actually really practical. And above all, blankets. Having them on hand means you can always wrap yourself up comfortably, especially on colder days or evenings when it just gets chilly. And it doesn't even have to be a really cold day. It's enough that we have bare feet, and in the summer when evening comes and we're sitting still, our feet can just start to feel cold. That's why, from my perspective, having a blanket on hand is an absolute must. A drawer for clutter. This is a trick that works extremely well for me. I've shown it to you before, and since then I have another drawer like that. One here in the dresser by the table, and the other in the dresser by the sofa. And when I'm working at the table during the day and using different papers and things that don't necessarily look nice, in the evening, if someone drops by or I just want to spend time in less chaos, I open that drawer and sweep everything into it. And of course, if it's just a few things like now, someone might say that you could just put them away right away, clean up. The thing is, not everything always has its own place, and when we have little time to relax because a lot happens during the day, you know how it is, maybe some people have a lot of time for themselves, but I'm sure many of you have lots of responsibilities, not just work-related but also family ones, and in the evening, there's just not enough time. And when we need to rest, and we have a choice between having tea in peace with a book for half an hour or cleaning for half an hour, it's definitely better to choose the tea and leave the cleaning for a time when we have more time and more energy. Because our rest is very important and we shouldn't underestimate it. It also affects our mental health. We really shouldn't overburden ourselves, and our home should support our well-being, not be just another obligation for us. That's why having a drawer for everything is definitely a great solution. I highly recommend it to you, although I have to admit that when it's time to thoroughly clean it once in a while, it's not my favorite thing to do. Not having a television is another very important thing, because thanks to the fact that there is no television in the living room, the seating furniture faces each other, which encourages spending time together and talking, and I really value that. Phones already grab too much of our attention every day, but not having a television doesn't mean we don't watch movies together. I really appreciate having a small projector that I just take out of the closet when we have a movie night, set up the screen, and we can enjoy watching together. This time I'm testing the JMGO N1S Nano, which I have to admit really impressed me. It's a bit bigger, but still very handy and easy to store. It comes with a sturdy foam case, so you can not only store it conveniently, but also transport it easily and safely. The key point is the image is bright, sharp, and detailed. No wonder. JMGO is a brand founded in 2011, known for innovative solutions in home projectors. What's more, the N1S Nano has really good sound. It's so good that I definitely don't feel the need to connect an external speaker. The projector connects to Wi-Fi, and you can control it using either the remote or apps on your phone. There's also the option for voice control. N1S Nano has built-in access to Google Television and popular streaming services, such as YouTube and Netflix. You can quickly play a movie without extra cables, laptops, or speakers, although if you feel the need, that's not a problem, because the projector has the appropriate ports. The projector has a convenient foot which you can also screw into a tripod, but it's perfectly fine to just place the device on a table. The automatic image straightening and sharpening works incredibly well, so we don't have to fuss with the settings ourselves. There is one thing that might bother some people. There is no Polish language option in the projector settings. And what else is worth knowing? The device can be powered by a power bank, although not every power bank will work. An interesting feature is also the protection against glare. When you step into the projector's light, it temporarily dims. It may seem like a small detail, but it's exactly these little things that affect our comfort. I'll leave the link in the video description, of course. Plants? In recent years, there has been a trend to have as many plants as possible at home, but I'm not encouraging you to do that, because having a lot of plants also means a lot of work. However, having 1, 2, or 3 plants is definitely within reach for almost everyone. So if you would like to bring plants into your home, but feel like, no, they'll die right away, we can't handle it, just make sure to prepare well for it. Set a phone alarm to remind you to water them. You can read about it on the internet, learn how to take care of a particular plant, and most importantly, choose a species that is less demanding. And don't get discouraged too quickly, because different species adapt differently in different apartments. There are no simple answers. Seriously, that's why it's worth experimenting and trying, because plants really bring a lot of life and coziness to our homes. Their shape not only looks beautiful, but also improves acoustics and can affect the humidity in our rooms. There really can be a lot of benefits, and above all, you can see that someone lives here, takes care of things. That these aren't just dried up sticks, but that there's real life in this home. Lighting. I've heard the opinion that you can have only 2 things in your living room and it can still feel cozy, as long as one of those things is the right lamp. And I definitely agree with that belief, because lighting alone can really influence the atmosphere and mood in a room. It's very important to get some extra gentle side lamps with diffused light. So it's not just one lamp in the middle of the living room that lights up the whole space in a flat, even way. It's definitely more pleasant if, instead of that central overhead lighting, we turn on some softer light sources on the sides when there are a few of them, when they create little scenes in the room. And as you know, a lot is going on in my living room. It's actually pretty chaotic, you could say. My colorful furniture from the Polish People's Republic era, combined with the existing elements, the little wall, the column, the moldings, the suspended ceiling, and the shape of the room, which isn't a rectangle, but where the walls are arranged differently, because the room is open to both the hallway and the kitchen. As a result, no matter where you look, there's just a lot going on everywhere. And during the day, it's not really a problem, because the windows make the areas near them brighter, the hallway is darker, so it's more in the background, and it's all good. Daylight is actually really pleasant, but in the evening it's a whole different story. And although I definitely wouldn't say that the lighting in my living room is perfect, thanks to adding different lamps, I'm able to create a really nice atmosphere in the evening. I remember when a television crew came to my place to film a show and they needed to light up the room, which is normal for these situations, but those film lamps, you know, the ones that evenly light everything, gave a terrible effect in my opinion because they made the room look flat. We lost that depth. Normally, when I'm sitting somewhere, I pay attention to certain pieces of furniture that are in front of me, or the ones that are closer, or those that stand out because of their color. Other things then lose importance, and you stop noticing them. But when everything is lit up so evenly and flat, all the things become equally important to our eyes, and that's kind of a disaster when it comes to creating atmosphere. That's why it's really worth remembering this and not creating that kind of effect in your own home. On a daily basis, it's definitely better to go for several softer light sources, for that diffused light, and for the ability to shape a room by turning on different lights. When I'm sitting at the table, I want to have a lamp above the table to light up what I'm doing, but when I'm sitting on the sofa, I have 2 or even 3 now, lamps by the sofa that I can turn on depending on what I'm doing. Whether I want stronger light for reading or more diffuse light, maybe more to the side, just so I'm not sitting in complete darkness. You can create it in different ways. It's worth experimenting to find the setup that will work best for us. The table as the center of life. Although, in fact, I don't mean the table as a piece of furniture specifically, but rather preparing the space in such a way that we can actually function comfortably in it and engage in various activities. In my case, the table works best, but I know there are homes where, for example, the lounge area is more developed, with a big coffee table, and that's where it's nicest to spend time together. You can play board games together, you can spread out with food when guests come over with all the cups. You know, everyone has a different lifestyle and that's perfectly okay, but for life to actually happen at all, we usually need some things. Of course, you can also just spend time together, but very often, to bring in some variety, certain items do come in handy. You can rent board games from a rental place, but then it's harder to have a spontaneous board game night. That's why it's good to have a board game cabinet like I have here. And when we spontaneously feel like it, we just take out the game we want to play that day, sit down, play. And it's beautiful that life goes on and the apartment meets our needs, not the other way around where we have to adapt to the apartment. For me, this is also a very important, though not obvious, element of coziness. Accessories. When I talk about accessories, I don't mean the quantity, although that does indeed affect how we perceive a space. However, I'm fully aware that the amount I have will be way too much for many people, and that's okay. Okay, we don't have to have a lot of things. What's important is what kind of things we have, because we can go to a home decor store, buy a few nice vases, some decorative grasses, a picture, a poster, and that will fill our space and look nice, but it won't mean much to us. And in my opinion, it's exactly this emotional aspect of the accessories we have in our homes that makes them feel cozy. When we look at things and they're not just coasters that look nice and that we can use under a mug, but they're coasters we got as a gift and they remind us of someone we like. That's the real magic of our accessories that fill the space in our home. For you, it's a collection of random things, but for me, definitely not. Here I have a birthday present from my friend, and here is a watercolor painting that used to hang at my late grandmother's place. It's a gift, and it also reminds me of important people who are close to me. Here I have a picture painted by my daughter, and next to it a little boat made by my son. I'm sure you also have many important things like that, which you can display. In my opinion, these sentimental touches are the most important element in creating a cozy atmosphere. That's all for this time, but before you turn off the video, leave a thumbs up and a comment. I'm curious about your thoughts on cozy living rooms. Do you prefer a more minimalist style or one with lots of things? Everyone has different preferences and understands coziness in their own way, so I'm really interested in your opinions. Also, remember that I left a link in the video description to the JMGO N1S Nano projector, which has really good quality. So if you're considering buying a projector in the future, definitely keep it in mind and subscribe to wnetrzazewnetrzaofficial. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye bye! What are you doing there, kitty? Yes, they lit up the whole interior completely flat. When I saw those shots on television later... Cole, kish. What are you doing now? I'm recording. Show some manners.